Hey everyone, and welcome back to Cultured. We love to go deep on stories, and well, today we're strapping on our best armor and diving headfirst into the world of solo leveling.
Definitely head first.
This action-packed series has taken the internet by storm, and for good reason.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We're going to untangle its intricate lore, break down that intense timeline, and explore what makes Sung Jinwoo's journey from zero to hero so captivating.
I mean, from zero to hero, that's quite a jump.
Right, it really is.
Yeah, and what's really intriguing about solo leveling though is how it goes beyond just a typical power fantasy.
Yeah.
It cleverly weaves in elements of video games mythology and even social commentary
Oh yeah.
to create this incredibly rich and layered universe.
Yeah, it's really fascinating how it all comes together.
Definitely.
Okay, so before we get into Jinwoo's epic transformation, let's paint a picture for those who haven't jumped into solo leveling yet.
All right.
Imagine 10 years ago, these mysterious gates start popping up all over the world. Think like interdimensional doorways leading to dungeons teeming with all sorts of terrifying monsters.
So like a kind of like a global invasion almost.
Yeah.
But more contained in these like little pocket dimensions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
And humanity's response. Hunters, of course.
Of course, gotta fight back.
Yeah, these are individuals with extraordinary abilities who emerged to combat this threat and close those dangerous gates.
It's like the world's become like a giant video game almost.
Yeah, and like any good RPG, there's a ranking system in place.
Oh, so there's like levels and classes and all that.
Yeah, from E rank for the newbies all the way up to S rank for the absolute elite.
Okay, so you gotta start at the bottom and work your way up.
Yeah, I like it.
So right, we've got our world, we've got our heroes, and now enters Sung Jinwoo.
All right, our main man.
He starts out as an E-rank hunter, scraping by to support his family.
So he's not starting off strong.
Not at all, he's the definition of an underdog, constantly risking his life in low-level dungeons just to make ends meet.
So he's putting it all on the line.
Yeah.
Just to survive.
Exactly, and this is where things get interesting.
Okay,
Jinwoo encounters a double dungeon.
a double dungeon.
Yeah, a dungeon within a dungeon.
Whoa, hold on, dungeon within a dungeon. What's that all about?
And let me tell you, these are incredibly rare and dangerous.
Okay, that sounds rough.
This near-death experience is a pivotal moment for him.
Okay.
It's where he makes a fateful decision and emerges as the player.
The player. Okay, you've got to explain this one because it sounds like something straight out of a video game.
It's exactly like that. Imagine suddenly being plugged into a real-life RPG.
Okay.
He gets quests stats that he can level up an inventory system, the whole 9 yards.
So he's like got like a heads-up display and
Yes,
everything.
exactly. He even gets access to a special in-game shop.
Whoa, hold on a shot. Okay, now I'm really intrigued. What kind of gear can he get there?
Anything and everything you can imagine, weapons, armor, potions, you name it.
Oh, wow. So he's got like an unfair advantage.
He does. It's like having an endless supply of power-ups at his fingertips.
Yeah, that's gonna put him ahead of the curve.
But here's the catch: only Jinwoo can access this shop because of his unique player status.
So on one hand, he's got this incredible edge over other hunters.
Right.
But on the other hand, it also kind of isolates him.
Yeah, he's playing on easy mode in a world where everyone else is stuck on hardcore.
So he's got the power, but he's also got this secret that he has to keep.
Right, and this plays a big role in how he rapidly climbs the ranks.
Okay.
Take, for example, his fight against the Blue Venom Fang Kazaka.
That's a mouthful.
It is a C-rank dungeon boss that's essentially a giant venomous cobra.
Talk about a terrifying first major boss fight. I can't even imagine going up against something like that.
And this fight is about so much more than just loot or experience points.
Okay.
It's a crucial turning point where Jinwoo confronts his fears and proves that he's no longer the weakest hunter around.
So it's like a trial by fire almost.
Exactly, yeah. And this is where we start to see that physical transformation as well.
Oh, so he's like leveling up in a visual way too.
Exactly. He becomes taller, stronger, and we see a new maturity in him.
It's like that moment in an RPG where your character levels up and gets a whole new set of skills and abilities.
Precisely. And as Jinwoo continues to level up, we, the audience, get to delve deeper into this fascinating world of hunters.
All right.
We encounter all sorts of different classes: fighters, mages, assassins, tankers, rangers, healers.
It's like a classic RPG party brought to life.
It really is. And speaking of parties, one thing that struck me about solo leveling is that it emphasizes how teamwork is essential,
Okay.
even in a world where individual power reigns supreme.
So like they can't just do it alone.
No, not really. We see this play out in the intricate strategies employed during those intense dungeon raids.
Oh, so they have to work together to take down these big baddies.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And what's particularly clever is how the series takes those traditional RPG archetypes
Right.
and adds its own spin.
Okay, I like that.
It highlights how even those who aren't on the front lines, those who might not have flashy combat skills,
Yeah,
still have vital roles to play.
makes sense.
Right? We see this with the hunters who specialize in gathering resources like mana crystals and essence stones,
Okay.
which are crucial for crafting powerful weapons and fueling the technology in this world.
So it's like a whole ecosystem.
It is. It really speaks to the complexity of the economic system that's built up around these dungeons.
It's a reminder that brute force isn't everything.
Exactly, yeah.
There's an entire network of resource gathering, crafting, and trading that keeps this world running.
Yeah, and this attention to detail, this commitment to creating a world that feels real and lived in, is what makes solo leveling so engaging.
It's not just about the action, it's about the world in which that action takes place.
Exactly, and that world gets a whole lot more complicated as Jinwoo starts to climb the ranks.
Oh, how so?
He faces the Trail Forges, unlikely alliances,
Oh.
and encounters a darker side to the hunter world that he never could have imagined.
So there's like a hidden underbelly to this whole thing.
There's one scene that always sticks with me where fellow hunters try to kill him for loot.
Oh, wow. So it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
It's brutal, but it's a harsh reminder that not everyone plays by the rules, even in the face of a global threat.
That's a tough lesson to learn.
It is.
Yeah.
And that scene is definitely a turning point for Jinlu.
How so?
He's forced to confront the reality that power attracts not just admiration, but also jealousy and greed.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
And it pushes him to embrace a certain ruthlessness, a willingness to do whatever it takes to survive and protect those he cares about.
So he's becoming more hardened,
He is, yeah.
more jaded.
Exactly. And it's like he loses that naivete and starts to see the world for what it truly is.
But what's interesting is that even as he becomes more powerful, he never seems to enjoy the act of killing.
Right? There's always a sense of justice driving him, a desire to protect the innocent.
So he's not a cold-blooded killer.
Not at all.
He's motivated by a deep sense of responsibility,
Yeah.
a desire to use his power for good. And that's one of the things that makes him such a compelling character.
Absolutely. He's not just a power fantasy. He's a genuinely good person who's trying to navigate a morally complex world.
Right. And then, of course, there's his shadow army, a collection of the very monsters he defeats.
Talk about turning your enemies into allies.
That's a pretty cool trick.
We see him commanding this diverse group of creatures, each with their own unique abilities.
Oh, wow. So he's like building his own army.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then there's Tusk the Orc Mage.
Tusk the Orc Mage. I mean, who doesn't love a good Orc Mage?
I know, right? And the Shadow Army adds a whole new dimension to the story.
Yeah, literally and figuratively.
It's this visually stunning spectacle, but it also raises some really interesting questions about the nature of these creatures.
Like, are they just mindless monsters, or is there more to them than meets the eye?
Exactly. And how does Jinwoo, as their leader, grapple with the ethical implications of commanding a force made up of creatures that were once his enemies?
That's a good question.
It's a fascinating dynamic that adds a lot of depth to the story.
Definitely, and this complexity is further amplified in the Red Gate arc, which introduces a whole new level of danger to the solo leveling universe.
Yeah, these rare gates essentially trap anyone who enters them and crank up the difficulty tenfold.
Whoa, so it's like a whole new level of challenge.
Exactly. We're no longer just talking about clearing dungeons. We're talking about preventing catastrophic breaches that could wipe out entire cities.
So the stakes get a lot higher.
They do. The stakes get incredibly high, and it forces Jinwoo to confront the true weight of his actions
Yeah.
and the potential consequences of his growing power.
It's a shift from individual heroism to a focus on global responsibility.
It is, and that's where things start to get really interesting. We see him grapple with the burden of leadership, the weight of knowing that the fate of countless lives rests on his shoulders.
Yeah, that's a lot to carry.
It is, and that burden only gets heavier as he faces increasingly dangerous situations.
Like what?
Like the Demon Castle, a 100-floor dungeon filled with incredibly powerful bosses.
Oh, wow.
Or the Jeju Island arc, where he goes up against a terrifying ant invasion.
An ant invasion, like giant ants or something.
Yeah, giant ants. That's pretty intense.
Okay, that's terrifying.
And these arcs are where we really see Jinwoo's power blossom.
Okay.
He's not just strong, he's strategic, resourceful, and he's constantly learning and adapting to new challenges.
So he's really coming into his own.
He is, yeah. He even earns the title of National Level Hunter, signifying his status as one of the world's strongest.
Oh, wow. So he's like top tier now.
Yeah, he's reached the top.
That's incredible.
It's a testament to his dedication and his unwavering determination to protect those he cares about.
And with great power comes, well, you know the rest.
You know the rest.
Exactly. It's the classic Spider-Man dilemma. With great power comes great responsibility, and as Jinwoo's power and maim grow, he decides to establish his own guild.
Oh,
The Ain Guild named after his sister.
Ain Guild. Okay.
This seems like a natural progression, but it throws him headfirst into the often messy world of hunter politics.
So it's like suddenly he's not just fighting monsters, he's navigating alliances, rivalries, and the ambitions of other powerful hunters.
Oh yeah, it gets complicated.
We see this clash play out with characters like the arrogant Thomas Andre and the vengeful Hong Dong-soo.
Oh yeah, those guys.
They represent these different facets of the hunter world,
Yeah.
some driven by ego, others by a thirst for power.
It's like a whole different kind of battle.
It is, and that's what makes this part of the story so compelling. We see Jinwoo forced to confront not just physical threats, but also the complexities of human nature.
It's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah, it raises questions about leadership responsibility and how to wield immense power without becoming corrupted by it.
Right, like absolute power corrupts, absolutely.
And speaking of fear, let's talk about the real antagonists in Solo Leveling.
Okay.
The Monarchs.
The monarchs are right.
These ancient, incredibly powerful beings are set on destroying the world, and their motivations are shrouded in mystery.
They're like the ultimate bad guys.
They are.
The big boss.
The Monarchs represent this existential threat that looms over everything else in the story. They embody chaos and destruction, and their presence adds this layer of urgency and tension to Jinwoo's journey.
Yeah, things are getting real when the monarchs show up.
But here's where things take a truly mind-blowing turn.
Oh, okay, what happens?
Jinwoo discovers that he's connected to the Shadow Monarch,
The Shadow Monarch.
Ashbourne.
Ashbourne, okay.
Chooses him as his successor.
So he's like the chosen one.
He is. It's like suddenly Jinwoo isn't just a powerful hunter.
Yeah.
He's potentially the most powerful being on Earth.
Whoa.
And he has to grapple with this incredible legacy.
Talk about a power-up.
This revelation completely changes the game. We delve into the complex lore surrounding the rulers beings of pure light who opposed the monarchs and the tragic war that shaped their destiny.
It's like a whole hidden history is revealed.
It is, and it's not just a simple battle between good and evil. It's a conflict rooted in deep history and a sense of cosmic balance.
Okay, this is getting deep.
It is. It's like suddenly we're seeing this whole other layer to the story. This epic clash between cosmic forces and Jinwoo is right at the center of it.
He's like the linchpin.
Exactly, and it forces us to recontextualize everything that's come before. It's not just about Jinwoo's personal journey anymore. It's about the fate of the entire world.
The weight of the world is on his shoulders.
It is, and the choices he makes will have consequences that extend far beyond himself.
Every decision matters.
Yeah. Speaking of choices, let's talk about that ending.
Okay, the ending.
After these incredible, visually stunning battles against the monarchs, the fight with the Frege Monarch on ties is just epic.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Jinwoo makes a truly shocking decision.
What does he do?
He chooses to use the Cup of Reincarnation to rewind time.
Rewind time.
Sacrificing all the power he's gained to save everyone and create a world where humanity can thrive without even knowing the sacrifices he's made.
Wow, so he gives up everything.
It's a truly selfless act that speaks volumes about his character.
It's like he's saying, I've seen the darkness, I've fought the good fight, but ultimately I want a world where people don't have to live in fear. He becomes the ultimate unsung hero protecting humanity from the shadows.
Exactly. And that ending, while bittersweet, is incredibly powerful. It elevates Jinwoo from a simple power fantasy to a truly tragic hero, someone who gives up everything for the greater good.
It's a powerful message.
So we've talked about the epic storyline, the complex lore, but I think it's important to take a step back and appreciate what makes Solo Leveling so unique.
Okay, what do you think?
For me, it's the way it seamlessly blends these familiar elements, the video game mechanics, the mythological creatures, the classic hero's journey, with this really nuanced exploration of power, responsibility, and the choices we make.
It's like it takes all these things we love and puts a fresh spin on them.
Exactly, and that's what sets Solo Leveling apart from other action-packed series. It's not just about mindless violence or leveling up, it's about exploring the complexities of human nature and the impact our choices have on the world around us.
Right, it makes you think.
One thing that I always find myself thinking about is the system itself.
The system, yeah.
It's like this invisible hand guiding Jinwoo's progression, but its origins and purpose remain shrouded in mystery.
It's like this big question mark hanging over the whole story.
The system is this brilliant narrative device that drives the story forward, but it also raises some really fascinating questions. Who created it? Why was Jinwoo chosen as the player? What is its ultimate goal?
Right, like what's the bigger picture here?
These unanswered questions add a layer of intrigue and keep us guessing right until the end.
It keeps you hooked.
It's like this meta-narrative that constantly reminds us that there are forces at play that we might not fully understand.
Yeah, there's always more to the story than meets the eye.
Exactly. And then there's the visual aspect. The art style in Solo Leveling is phenomenal.
Oh yeah, the art is amazing.
The detail and the character designs, the way the monsters are rendered, those incredibly dynamic fight scenes, It's all just breathtaking.
It's like eye candy for fans of action and fantasy.
I mean, those fight scenes are like something straight out of an anime, with fluid movements, impactful strikes, and these amazing special effects that practically leap off the page.
The artist really went all out.
It's a visual feast for anyone who loves action and fantasy. And what's especially impressive is how they balance those big explosive moments with quieter, more character-driven scenes.
Oh, yeah.
We see the warmth in Jinwoo's eyes when he interacts with his sister, or the steely determination on his face as he prepares for a fight.
It's those little details that really bring the characters to life.
It's that attention to detail, both in the writing and the art, that makes Solo Leveling such an immersive and engaging experience.
Absolutely. And that's what makes it so much more than just another action-packed series.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Solo Leveling, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. What resonated with you most? Was it the intricate lore, the epic battles, or perhaps Jinwoo's journey of self-discovery? What about the unique elements that make Solo Leveling stand out?
Well, for me, one thing that really stood out is how Solo Leveling takes this familiar concept of the hero's journey and flips it on its head.
Yeah.
Jinwoo starts as the ultimate underdog, but he doesn't just become powerful. He becomes like a symbol of hope, a protector who operates in the shadows.
It's true, and he doesn't achieve that through brute force alone. He's constantly evolving, learning from his experiences, adapting to new challenges. He's not afraid to make tough choices,
Right.
even if it means sacrificing his own desires for the greater good.
And that selflessness, that willingness to put others before himself, that's what makes him such a compelling character. He could have easily given in to the temptation of power,
Oh yeah, for sure.
but he chooses a different path, a path that ultimately leads him to sacrifice everything for the sake of humanity.
It's a powerful message, and it's something that I think resonates with a lot of readers, especially in a world that often feels chaotic and uncertain. Solo Leveling offers this sense of hope, this reminder that even in the darkest of times, one person can make a difference.
Absolutely. And it does so without being preachy or overly sentimental.
Right.
It's a story that embraces complexity and nuance, acknowledging that the world is full of gray areas.
There are no easy answers, no clear-cut villains or heroes. It's a story that challenges us to think about the nature of power, the consequences of our choices, and the sacrifices we're willing to make for those we care about.
And it does all of this while being incredibly entertaining.
Oh, for sure.
The pacing is fantastic, the action is thrilling, and the characters are memorable.
They really are.
It's a story that pulls you in from the first page and doesn't let go until the very end.
So for anyone who hasn't experienced the world of Solo Leveling yet, I highly recommend checking it out. It's a wild ride full of twists and turns, and I guarantee it'll leave you wanting more.
And for those who are already fans, I hope this deep dive has given you some new insights and perhaps sparked some interesting conversations.
We'd love to hear your thoughts. What are your favorite moments from Solo Leveling? What resonates with you most about the story or its characters?
Share your perspectives with us on social media and let's continue the conversation.
And until next time, keep on leveling up.